Today we're going to be talking about GrapheneOS and what happens when you've been using it so long it's time to change phones. Yeah, how'd that transfer process go? We'll talk about it. Thanks for checking out this video by SwitchedTolinux. If you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Leave us a like and a comment down below. That's right, we will be talking about GrapheneOS, apparently the OS that will call the police on you. So there was, I didn't get a chance to follow it very closely, but apparently there was a situation where age verifications fail, and then, I don't know, it's some situation I didn't particularly follow up on, but hey, I like using GrapheneOS. It is really, truly an excellent operating system for your phone. And, but my 5 is actually out of support, and it's been out of support for a little while, but I don't really use my phone for anything critical anyway, so I didn't really care. But the screen was getting a little wonky. I'm like, I don't know, something's going goofy here. And the Pixel 7s fell under $200, and they still will be supported for at least a few more years. And so under $200, I managed to snag me a used Pixel 7 phone. And I want to talk a little bit about the transfer process because, you know, what happens when your phone's still working, you're on Graphene, so you don't have that full cloud syncing stuff, blah, 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 you know, and that really is what I want to talk about. So, of course, what we do want to mention here first is the GrapheneOS itself is so simple to install. The video I did talking about it before is still valid. We actually walked through the system on the Pixel tablet. So I have a GrapheneOS tablet over here as well. The process is exactly the same thing. You start with your new phone, make sure it has the latest updates to it. You go into developer mode options. You turn on, you enable OEM unlocking. You reboot into fastboot. And then once you reboot into fastboot, then I use the WebOS based installer because you literally just plug your device in on any one of these supported systems, plug your device in, and you start clicking the buttons. Got to unlock the bootloader, and then you got to download the release, and then you got to flash release, and you got to lock the bootloader. And at the very bottom, it will give you the verified hash keys. So you will see that on the boot screen the first time it wants to load the system with the new operating system. So verify that, which I did, and that was fine. So now we have the question, how do we get our data from one device onto the other? And this is where we're not going to actually walk through the entirety of the process because it's so super simple. In fact, this is something, though, that you should make sure that you are doing on a regular basis, have a backup of your system. But I will, and I want to do this video because it's not as simple as just doing the backup, because there's a few extra steps that I have never done this before, transferring the data from one phone to the other. And I don't know exactly how it is going to specifically work. And so, what I wanted to say first is GrapheneOS, like other systems, has the means to do a full backup file, which will carry with it settings, applications, data in some cases. Now, not everything had that data. That is one of the things that I want to point out, is that not every application can carry the data. And so you have to take that step. The only application that I had serious problems with was OSM and mostly that's because I've been in the entire United States. And so I have the entire United States downloaded onto my app, and that's a lot of data. But their backup process is kind of a little crazy. In fact, if you go and talk about exporting data from OSM then what we actually see, their documentation is actually completely invalid at this point in time. So let me see if I can actually find it, because I saw it in one spot, but they're talking about the export stuff, export file. But at one point in time, the challenge is that they don't tell you anywhere where this file is. This file stores under the Android data file for the application under temp. Literally, you go through this process and you hit the export, and as soon as you get that, it takes this file, puts it in temp, and then gives you an immediate share screen and it shares it with a bunch of things that are completely useless. It doesn't give you the option to save it somewhere else. So this is the one backup file I had to manually move. I had to take it from the temp file by plugging it into the computer, manually transfer it onto the other phone. And as long as the two versions of the app matched, then it was able to import data. Everything else, before you walk through the backup process on your phone, go through your applications and make backups of everything and store them locally on the phone. So I had a number of applications that would not be able to store the data. So those would be, for me, Nextcloud, because it wants you to resync and recreate the account. What is it? Canine Mail. I think it's, It's Thunderbird Mail now, I think. That did not allow me to carry things over. My Bible study application did not allow me to carry things over. And I thought there was one more. Oh, my text messages did not allow me to carry things over. So those particular items, what I did is I went through and created a backup. So you create a backup, and I created a folder in my Android. I just called it B-Up. Backup, update, whatever. And then what I ended up doing is I took all of the backups from those applications and put them into that folder. And then what you do is on GrapheneOS, you go into your settings, and then under your system, there is the backup feature. And this will allow you to make a backup of your phone that you can put locally on a device. You do have options to send stuff to cloud as well. But the default for me, because I don't use cloud services for things like that, default for me is we're going to go ahead and do everything locally. Now, you should do this at least once a month, maybe once a week if you're using your phone for a lot of data. On the various settings options, first you have to get your Winter Soldier activation code. Gives you 12 words. You have to use these 12 words to decrypt the backup when you transfer it over. So make sure you activate your Winter Soldier backup codes, make a copy of those 12 words. And then I went in here and you back up your apps that will save all of your applications. So I didn't even have to install any apps on the new phone. And then there's the app backup. There's backup your files, and then you can include various folders and files. So every application except for OSM and allowed me to go in and make a copy of it, and then I stored it in that directory. And then I took that file off of the phone, I added it to the new phone, simply hit the restore button, it put every app back on, it put the data back for most of them, and those applications that did not allow the data to transfer over, it brought the backup files with it, so I was able to just restore from the backups that I put on the phone itself. That is the way to make your GrapheneOS flawlessly update. As far as OSM and they need to work on that one. They really do. Or they just didn't really plan on somebody like me that has the entire country downloaded in the United States, which, by the way, is about 11 gigabytes of data. I don't think I've New Jersey map, maybe not. I don't know. I might have. I don't think I'd Connecticut either. There are like three or four states, United States, I didn't have. But all that being said, so far the transfer was flawless, and I'm going to test this out for a couple days. I'm going to keep both phones handy, and I'm going to see how that works, and I'll maybe let you guys know, maybe in a news or something else soon, how that worked. But just a simple, easy way. Local backup, transfer that backup into your backup files, and that way, if the worst should happen to your phone, you at least have a copy of the most recent backup, which hopefully shouldn't be longer than a month or a week or however frequently you're doing your backups. And really, it didn't take a lot of time. Figuring out OSM and that's when it took a lot of time, especially some of their help documents still tells you to just go in and copy the data from the data directory and put it on the new device. Yeah, that hasn't worked since Android 11 if you're a normie phone, and I think Android 13 if you're using like Graphene. But I cannot copy them. You can copy them off of the old device. You cannot put them onto the new one. So let me know your thoughts about all those in the comments down below. Are you using Graphene? How well do you love it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to GrapheneOS.